Viewer discretion is advised. Go where no man has gone before. It'll make your head spin. Real bad.
Broadcasting live from 47-degree downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL TV again. Home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and an Oscar. And as we all know, the flashing G stands for me, your host, Grumpy. And we're brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. Oh, just as I hit start, the chat disappeared. I had to close out, go in the dock. I don't know how the chat got unchecked. Check chat. Chat box come up. Restart. I looked over and it was a white box. I was like, whoa! Where's my chat? And of course, you can't open the dock and click on chat while you're streaming. So I had to close out, reopen, retype the title. It's all the bird's fault. So, how you doing tonight, Kathy? Good.
Whatever.
Oh, okay. It's working. I was going to say, then the tablet, jeez, it's going to be one of them nights. Holy shit. Oh, instead of the temperature, it says sunset coming. Like I don't know. Sometime this weather box is, yeah, sunset coming. I hope so. Telling me to look for some movie trailer. Now there's commercials in the weather box. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh, wasn't that? Yeah, crazy is the word. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's, that's one thing that really fries my ass when you get these young kids that have no respect for authority, and you know they'll be vulgar and I you know then they wonder why we have a nationwide shortage of first responders. You know, I've seen firemen get spit on. I've seen first responders, EMS people uh, get belittled, and you you back in the day, I wanted to be either police or fire. More police than fire. I'm not so hot about running into a burning building. You know, he is lucky they have body cams, because I could guarantee without a body cam, they'd have beat the fuck out of him. Because he literally aimed for that officer. It's really sad that he ended up losing his leg. And you could tell in the interview he's still kind of fucked up from that. Like he said, I take it a day at a time. I remember back, and you I don't know if you would remember way back the Huff riots in the city of Cleveland. You might have been young to the point where you really didn't care what was on the news. The reason I mention the Huff riots is because that was back in the day when I had, oh Christ, I must have had at least 6 police scanners. And I had one dedicated to Cleveland Fire. We didn't have EMS yet. I had a scanner dedicated to Cleveland Fire. Sometime gargle it. Huff, Hough. Huff riots in Cleveland. It was on Huff Avenue, and I can't remember what started it. It was over in the ghetto, and they were protesting, and they literally set the neighborhood on fire. And it was to the point they were pulling, units from the west side to go over and fight the fire on the east side because it was a whole neighborhood burning. And they were trying to save a strip mall. And when the firemen pulled up, the young kids and the teenagers and even some adults, they were starting to throw rocks and bottles at the fire. So I had heard, I can't remember if it was a captain, I think it was a captain, radioed in that they needed police assistance because they were being pelted with rocks and bottles. Well, the police were stretched so goddamn thin the way it was. And I've got the scanner on, and boy, I'm listening intently, you know. And at that time, the call letters for the fire department, I still remember them, KQA 550. That was the call letters. KQA 550. And 3 tones came over the scanner. You know, like E, E, E. And the dispatcher came on and said, KQA 550 to the Cleveland Fire Department. By orders of the chief, leave it burn. And they pulled all the fire trucks out and the fucking neighborhood burned to the ground. They refused to fight the chief said, leave it burn, get out. And literally, the whole neighborhood burned to the ground. Houses, apartment buildings, stores, everything. The chief said, nope, we ain't putting up with that shit. Get in your trucks. Get out of there. Leave it burn. And the whole neighborhood burnt right to the ground. And we're talking maybe a 6 or 8 block square. I mean, literally, the Huff neighborhood was gone. And they only had themselves to blame. You know, nothing stupider than to set your own neighborhood on fire. And I can't remember what started the riot. But it went for like a week. But I'll tell you what, I will never forget that as long as I live. When them 3 tones came on, by order of the chief of the Cleveland Fire Department, leave it burn. I was like, holy shit. And the mayor stood behind him. Because they had a press conference and the mayor said, you set your neighborhood on fire, we come in to save your life, and you're going to throw rocks and bottles at us and pelt us with all kinds of shit? Nope, we ain't standing for it. And I mean now, well, it's back to ghetto again, but at one time, there were gorgeous, you know, federal money, they built gorgeous apartments, everything top notch, and I mean, it's back to ghetto again. Yeah, there might even be news video. God, that was back, oh man, late 60s, early 70s. Yeah, the Huff riots. Urban renewal by fire. I remember watching the news, and they had, after the fire kind of like burned itself out, a helicopter went up, and I mean, it was blocks burnt to the ground. But I can't remember what started the rioting. But they got what they wanted. They thought they were going to be smart, set fires to cars, set fires to buildings. Firemen pull in and they get pelted with all kinds of shit. I think they even got shot at. I think that's why the chief pulled everybody out. I was looking some information up, and it was for a remote. I need to get a spare remote for my Roku box. And like I was saying, when I bought that RCA and I made mention that I could guarantee they all come out of the same factory. Well, in this information, in the one block, the TVs manufactured in Guangdong, Zhaochong, China, whatever, TCL, Hisense, Philips, and then Walmart brand, ONN, on. Sharp, Westinghouse, and RCA all come out of the same Chinese TV plant or flat screen. And like I said, they come down the assembly line and all they do is put a different nameplate on it. Dump. They're all manufactured junk in one plant. And Walmart sells that ONN brand on. And I mean, you could get like a 35-inch flat screen for $60. So you know how dependable that TV is. But they all come out of the same plant in Guangdong, Chop Suey, China. And I said it right. I said very few TVs are made standalone. And Samsung is one. They are a standalone manufacturer. All they make is their own nameplate TVs. That's it. And I'll tell you, I am still extremely happy with that TV. Extremely. Now, watch. It'll burn out tonight. The way my luck goes. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine bought the same TV. He came over and he was sitting looking at mine. He said, man, the colors are vibrant in that TV. I said, yeah, it's a liquid crystal, ultra high def. He wrote down the model number and everything, went right to Walmart, bought one. Same size. And he's extremely happy with it.
For Pete's sake!
I ran up to the store and got me a nice, as a matter of fact, the Schwabel's bread guy was just putting the Jewish rye on the shelf. And I said, I'll take one of them, please. So tonight, I'm having delicious ham. Oh, a matter of fact, I forgot to ask my sister what brand ham that was. Oh my God, was it delicious. And then I went up to K&K Portage Meats and got some nice, fresh, authentic Swiss cheese. So tonight it's going to be ham and Swiss on rye with a side of green bean casserole and deviled eggs. I went easy last night. I didn't pig out on them. I'm going to kind of stretch them. As a matter of fact, what surprised me was the price of the Swiss cheese at K&K was the exact same price as Mark's. So I think instead of getting my lunch meat from Mark's, I'll just go back to getting it at K&K Portage Meats. And I got some meatloaf mix. I forgot that they still make it. As a matter of fact, they ground the veal and the pork right in front of me. Because I says to him, I says, do you have any pre-prepared meatloaf mix? He says, well, what do you want? I said, I want a pound of each. A pound of ground meat, a pound of ground veal, and a pound of ground pork. The next thing I see the guy going, grinding the veal. I was like, God, you can't get any fresher than that. Like being at the West Side Market. Which after I explained to my sister how commercialized it was, she decided not to go. So I still have my great memories of the market. And then my sister came over today and picked up clothes for my son. I guess he's staying with his mother. Oh boy. Let her put up with the pig. I can't believe she's actually letting him stay over there. And it's obvious that she was bullshitting me because she goes, oh, I'm in a retirement community. It's 55 and older. Yeah, right. I guess he's going to be with her for a couple of weeks. I'm like, holy shit. What did I do to deserve this? Well, there's a little story behind it, but I won't be telling that story. Not on the air. Maybe in an email, but not on the air. No. That's all right. Boots would miss her. That's his little buddy. It's funny at night. I was telling my sister today, you know, he gets his delectables. Well, as soon as she hears the dry food hit the dish, she wakes up and comes downstairs. And she will stand right next to him because he likes to lick the gravy out of the bowl. He'll lick all the gravy out and leave either the fish or the chicken or whatever. And then he steps back and she eats the chicken or the fish or the tuna. She cleans the bowl. He eats all the gravy. And then she gets what's left. And there's no fighting or anything. He'll lick all the gravy and he'll step back and it's hilarious. You would think that, you know, there'd be hissing and nope. He drinks all the gravy and then he leaves the rest for her. And it's funny because in the dry food bowl, they'll be top of head to top of head eating. They eat together out of the same bowl. Of course, with her being 4 pounds, he could kick the shit out of her. The only thing, which don't bother me, she will not get up on my bed and sleep with him. Now, if he's laying in the hallway, she'll snuggle up to him. If he's laying in the kitchen on the carpet, she'll snuggle up to him. For some reason, she will not, I've never scolded her or anything, she won't get up on my bed. If he goes in the bedroom to sleep, she's like, I'll go up in my own room and sleep. But from day one, I mean, when he brought her home, I told him, I said, keep your door shut, keep her upstairs, and let Boots get accustomed to smelling another cat in the house. And he had her up there for about 5 days. And I said to him, I says, well, I guess it's time for introductions. So he brought her down, and he set her down. And Boots took one look at her and went, oh, company. And she walked over, and they touched noses. Not one spit, hiss, nothing. It was like she'd been here forever. I was shocked because when I had Socks and I brought Boots in, oh man, talk about hiss, spit, fight. Oh God. But from a kitten, Boots decided, I'm going to be the alpha male in this house. And Soxy was 8 years old. Oh, the fighting that, oh my God. Although there were times the two of them got along. But every now and then, I don't know what would set him off. Boots would go after him, and the fur'd be flying. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's been here for 8 years. You're 6 months old. But he decided, I'm going to be the alpha male. And he was. And I thought, oh boy, you know, here's Big Fatso and here's this little itty bitty kitty. And I was like, oh God, he's going to beat the shit out of her. Nope. Because Boots was sitting in the hallway. And she walked over, and I told my son, I said, get ready to grab her. And Boots kind of leaned down, and they touched noses. And he just was like, oh, okay. Mary Ann couldn't believe it. She goes, I've never. And she goes, like now, she got 5 cats. She said, you know, when I bring another cat in, it takes weeks for everybody to get adjusted to one another. I said, not with this one. Brought her in, and Boots just looked at her and went, oh, you're tiny. Okay. But it's funny at night when I put the delectables in the bowl. They're both sitting there. Boots will lick all the gravy or all the sauce out. And then he's like, okay, your turn. And when she gets finished, that bowl is clean. I'm like, no, I don't even have to wash it. Well, I do, but I mean, she makes sure every little scrap. Like tonight, they're getting tuna and salmon. And Boots will lick all the juice, and then she cleans the bowl. Because I know Dale's mother has got a... It's part Maine Coon, I know that. Her cat's bigger than Boots. He looks like a dog. Part Maine Coon and part Tabby or Ginger cat. He's big. I'm not too. If Dale was to take his cat over there, I don't know how they'd get along, but because he's been an only cat for years. But if he decides he's going to stay with his mother, then he can take his cat with him. And I'll find Boots another buddy. What I would like to get is a gray and white tuxedo. When I lived down the street, my neighbor had one. It was gorgeous. I think it'd be cool to have a black and white and a gray and white. But if I get one, if I would get one from the rescue, it would have to be on a test basis. Although I think Boots would enjoy a kitten. It might even exercise him. He'd lose some weight.
For Pete's sake!
Yeah, he could afford to lose a couple of pounds. Matter of fact, when I got up this morning, Marianne, she texted me a picture. There were 3 deer in my driveway. But when I got up, they were gone. But she was on her front porch and she snapped a picture of the three does standing in my driveway. Matter of fact, all 3 of them look pretty young. But they didn't stay. Because I even went out and looked behind the garage, because sometimes they sleep behind the garage. Or they'll go way in the back of the yard and sleep underneath the big shrub. They weren't there. They were just about at my side door. That's where she took the picture. So they were halfway up the driveway. I don't know, maybe they went back there and then jumped the fence. Because she said she was sitting in her kitchen looking out the window, and they came sauntering down the sidewalk like they owned the place. She says, here they come. They got to my driveway, and it was like, girls, we're going to turn here. This is our stop. And they pranced up the driveway. And I have talked to all my neighbors. I am the only one that gets deer. Out of all the houses on the street, I don't know what it is about my yard. What was it? 3-4 years ago, when that herd came over from Twinsburg. Now, those were the ones that the Department of Natural, they were tracking because they had GPS tags in their ears. There would be 6, 8, 10 of them walking through the neighborhood. Cars would be stopping, going, holy shit, there's a herd of deer coming down the street. But it was amazing because they were coming here daily. And the guy I talked to from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources asked me, he said, can you get tag numbers? And I said, yeah. He said, every day call me and let me know what tag numbers, and we'll check it against the GPS. And every day it was different numbers. It was different parts of the herd. And he had told me that by the end of summer, they had gone from Twinsburg or Macedonia all the way down south of Mansfield. And it was a herd of about, he said, either 50 or 60. They all left Macedonia and decided to take a walk down south. And they came through the neighborhood. And he said by the end of summer, they were way south of Mansfield. It's amazing how they migrate. And migrate right through the neighborhood. Yeah, what they had done in the Met Park Reservation in Macedonia, they darted the whole herd. And they tagged them with these GPS tags because they wanted to track a herd of deer. because they had in both ears. They had tags in both ears. Matter of fact, they had 2 tags in one ear and one in the other. And one of the tags was a vaccination tag because they had vaccinated them. And then they had 2 GPS in case one failed. And they tracked them right from Macedonia down almost to Columbus. And boy, I'll tell you what, there were a couple of bucks. God, they had some beautiful racks on them. 10 pointers, 12 pointers. But they were so used to people. I mean, I could walk out and pet them. Because the one morning they scared the shit out of me. I stepped out the side door and, whoa, what are you guys doing here? And there was one standing in my driveway, and I was talking to it. I was like, hey, Bambi, what are you doing? You're supposed to be in a field, in the woods. You're in the city. She just looked at me like, you're a lunatic. And I walked over, and I put my hand out, and she didn't move. And I was scratching her on top of the nose and never bothered her whatsoever. Matter of fact, I put my arm around one. But they were around people so much that didn't scare them. Which, like the guy from ODNR said, you know, that's not good. Because people were feeding them, you know. They were almost like pets. Because that year, God, I think I had 8 or 10 in the backyard one morning. They were all just laying out. We're getting a suntan, don't bother us. And I'd walk outside, they wouldn't even get up. They'd look at me like, how are you walking on 2 feet? We got to walk on 4. How are you managing to walk on 2? But it was basically, like the guy from ODNR said, they were too accustomed to humans, which isn't good. I didn't dare tell him I was petting him. Well, he'd probably come here and wrote me a ticket. Yeah, Kathy, they were to the point where, you know, in a couple of parts of Ohio, they have deer farms. There's a certain breed of deer that you can raise. And these were so domesticated, it was like they were raised on a farm. But it was a riot some morning. You'd see 7, 8, 9, 10 of them walking down the street like they owned the place. And then the following year, there were a few, but for the last 3 years, it's all been wild. No tags. They're just wild deer. And they're somewhat domesticated because I can walk out. Now, if I come out too fast or I make a noise that bothers them, they'll take off. But if I just walk out real slow in the driveway, I can go out and take pictures of them. Because I always check for ear tags, and nope. I'm just wondering if perchance these are offspring of that original herd, that they come through the neighborhood every year. I don't know, it's strange. But like the guy from ODNR said, they mostly travel at night. So who knows how many are traipsing through the neighborhood after midnight, you know. It's interesting, though. And like my sister's looking in the backyard, she go, you ought to whack a lot of them bushes down. I was like, no. I might not get deer. Because I've got a big, huge, and I mean huge shrub in my backyard. And they like to sleep under it. Because that was the first thing she said. Oh, you ought to go back there and whack the shit out of that big-ass shrub. And I said, nope. Because this shrub is probably, all right, the lots are 50 foot wide. From the fence over into the yard, that shrub is probably 20 feet. And it's about 6 foot high. And they like to sleep under it. So I'm going to leave the backyard the way it is. Because I think it's unique to wake up in the morning and pull up the shade and go, whoa, I have visitors. God, last summer, a couple of them really scared the shit out of me. I pulled a shade up and their noses were right against the back window. They were looking in like, anybody in there? And then in the summer, you know, I'll pull the screen down and open the window, And there were a couple of times where the deer would have their nose right against the screen, and Boots and Shiloh would have their nose against the screen. I could see Shiloh going, "Holy shit, you're a giant cat. Holy Christ. Look at the size of you." I'm going to have to get a trail cam. They're not that expensive. I could put a trail cam out back. And that way I could have Grumpy's Wild Kingdom. Run some videos of the deer chomping my shrub in the back. I think I'm going to do that. I think a trail cam, I think they're only like $19. I'll have to pull up the ad for Fin, Fur, and Feather. If they're that cheap, maybe I'll get two. I'll put one in the backyard facing this way and one in behind the house facing that way. I would get the whole yard. Grumpy's Wild Kingdom. That's not Grumpy's Wild Kingdom. Close. I was watching Mommy feed the babies today. They are so cute. The little eaglets. Yeah, well, we've got them too. Raccoons, possums, squirrels. Matter of fact, there was some roadkill on the freeway exit ramp yesterday. Somebody whacked a possum. I could have picked it up for Dickhead here. Every now and then, if I look out the kitchen window like after midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, I have a real small LED nightlight in the backyard. I'll look out the window and all you see is glowing eyes from the goddamn raccoons and possums. Christ, a couple of weeks ago there was like 4 goddamn raccoons trotting around my backyard. But see, with all the housing that they're building, we're displacing all the animals. So they come into the city. People don't, builders don't realize when you build a development how many different wild animals that you're displacing because they got nowhere to go. You're taking their homestead and turning it into housing, so you're forcing them basically into the city. That's why I'm glad that there's nothing that's going to infringe on the eagles out in Big Bear Valley. Because they're endangered the way it is. But it's amazing. You know, I can remember when I was a kid, you never saw a raccoon or, a possum. Now, they're all over the place. Christ, last summer there was one in my garage. A goddamn possum scared the shit out of me. I opened the door. I went back in the corner to get the rake, and I was like, whoa, easy. Goddamn thing was spitting at me. Quit spitting, I'll hit you with the fucking rake. Although my neighbor said, if you pick it up by the tail, you can carry it around. As long as you keep it far enough away from you. I said, I am not going to say, hey, stand still while I grab your tail.
Whippersnapper.
Yeah, like during the summer, I'll come out, in the kitchen, get some ice cubes or something. I'll pull up the shade, take a look out in the backyard, and you see eyes everywhere, like little aliens out there. I wonder if the Rangers came in and arrested them. I didn't think people were. I would have thought that would be like there would be boundaries out there. Nobody past this point. God, that could screw up nesting. Yeah, it's like out in California, up in the California hills. There'll be signs, no one past this point because there's fucking cougars up there and people have been attacked. And they'll say, don't take this trail or don't go this way. And the assholes are they get fucking attacked, and then they're all raising hell. Hey! Well, the sign said, "Stay off this trail." Christ, 5 or 6 people got attacked out there last year. Christ, there's cougars and mountain lions roaming out there in the goddamn Hollywood Hills. And they literally tell people, stay out of a certain area. Anybody goes there, they deserve to be eaten.
Wow!
You know, it's like up at the shopping center. Signs everywhere. No parking. Fire lane. See cars parked there all the time. Curb painted red, big signs. No parking. Fire lane. Fire lane. But we have no enforcement. It's like handicap parking spaces. If first of all, if they would raise the fine, because like right now, if you park in a handicap, it's $100. It should be like out in fucking Rhode Island. You park in a handicap spot, it's $1,000 ticket. Because my cousin took a picture of a sign one day and sent it to me. And it says right on the sign, no parking, handicap only, $1,000 fine. And they write tickets out there. Maryland or Massachusetts, Delaware, oh, they're deadly on fucking the handicap spots. Did somebody send her back a picture of a coyote? There is a big difference between a bobcat and a coyote. A coyote looks like a dog. A bobcat looks like a giant boots. Where was she in school when they were teaching about animals? How can you confuse a coyote with a bobcat? Jesus. I wish I would have seen that post. I would have sent her a giant picture of a coyote. Tell her, this animal here doesn't come to here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Oh, some people get it in their head that they're 100% right. You know, you're not going to tell me that's a big coyote with a real long tail. A sickly looking dog? Coyotes look pretty healthy, at least the ones around here. I shouldn't say right here proper. I had a friend that lived off of I can't think of the street now. Harvard. She lived off of East 25th and Harvard. And there were coyotes running around that neighborhood, something fierce. And them coyotes didn't look like a sickly dog. They looked downright scary. Matter of fact, before she would let her dogs out in the morning, she would literally have to do a perimeter, go around the perimeter of her yard because there were goddamn coyotes over there all the time. Because she lived just down the road from Newburgh Heights. And you know where Newburgh Heights is, Kathy. Because I can't remember the, there's a couple of, you got McGee and Rocco Chemical, and I can't remember a couple other factories there. And you always saw coyotes over there. Because my buddy worked for McGee and Chemical. And he said he used to get to work like at 3:30 in the morning, and he said he'd pull in the parking lot, and there were always fucking coyotes around the dumpster, Because every now and then she would say, oh, one of the neighbors said her cat is missing. Well, first of all, what are you doing letting your cat out? And second of all, that's coyote food. If your cat turned up missing, it was a flaming fillet for a coyote. That's like my buddy's wife 2 weeks ago. She calls me every Sunday, and they live out in North Ridgeville, and there's a lot of hawks and peregrine falcons that nest in that area. And the neighbor down the street got a puppy. And everybody was telling her, do not leave your puppy out in the backyard unattended. And she's kind of a snotty bitch. And she's like, what? My yard is fenced. I don't have to worry about my dog getting out. And they were telling her, it's not the dog going to get out. The dog is going to get away. And one afternoon, she let the fucking puppy out. And next thing you know, a goddamn hawk came down and snatched it because the guy across the street saw the hawk flying off. And then she's like, oh, my poor puppy. Well, you were supposed to be out in the yard with your puppy. No, you're too fucking lazy. You just open the door, go on, do your business. And the hawk went, oh, look, breakfast. Yep, that hawk swooped down, grabbed that puppy, and away it went. And then she calls the animal warden. You need to take care of them hawks. You should have taken care of your puppy, bitch. But her attitude, you know.
Whatever.
Yep, the puppy was about 7 weeks old. It was a Yorkie on top of it. She lets it out. And that put it this way, that Yorkie looked like a rat. And that hawk just come down and there it went. See you, bye. That hawk had babies to feed. Here, kids, filet of Yorkie. A gourmet meal today. Yeah, she paid about $1,000 for that Yorkie too. So, besides losing her dog, she lost $1,000. But every neighbor told her, don't let that puppy out. But she's one of those typical, nobody's going to tell me. That's my yard. It's fenced. Yeah. The puppy couldn't even really run and hide. The yard has no shrubs or anything, but it's fenced. Kind of like captive. The dog wasn't going to go anywhere. And by the time the dog realized it was too late. Yeah, that fucking hawk just come down, grabs it, and she was looking for sympathy, you know, telling the neighbors, oh, a hawk got my dog. Well, we all told you. If you're going to let your dog out, go in the backyard. Put it on a leash. Walk around with it. No, she opened the door. It ran out and became hawk food. But every single neighbor warned her, because it's a retirement, it's cluster homes. And they're all, you know, everybody in the neighborhood is over 65. And every single neighbor that she told that she got this puppy told her, do not let it out by itself. And she, you know, the guy across the street saw it and come over and knocked on her door. Your puppy's gone. Well, where is it? It's breakfast. And then she's yelling at the neighbor, why didn't you do something? Oh, yeah. What's he going to do? Shoot the bird down? It's not like he's Jed Clampett, you know. Matter of fact, she was saying that they had in their HOA bulletin, there was a warning. So besides everybody telling her, she got the bulletin from the homeowners association telling her that it's nesting season. And Christ, that Yorkie probably only weighed a pound. When she crying her eyes out, oh, I paid $1,000 for that puppy. Well, the hawk had an expensive breakfast.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah, she was moaning, I spent all that money fencing my yard. Well, basically, you made it real easy for the hawk because the dog had nowhere to go. Matter of fact, I guarantee that poor puppy never realized what hit it. Probably never saw that hawk swooping in. And once that hawk clamped onto that poor thing, it was lights out. Because she said to me, she goes, you'll never guess what Agnes did. And I knew. She didn't even have to say anything. I was like, Agnes let the dog out, didn't she? She goes, yep. And I says, a hawk or a falcon got it. She goes, yep. And then complained to the homeowners association. You should be doing something about these hawks. Like what? If it had been me, the president of the homeowners association, I would have said, well, you shouldn't be feeding the hawks. Dumb bitch. I'd have stuck a sign in her front lawn. Please do not feed the hawks. Just to be mean. But that's me. Please do not feed the hawks. Even she was telling me, even the squirrels make sure that they're under a shrub or something. You don't see the squirrels running around because they know. I mean, it's sad when you come down to it. I hate to see that happen to that puppy, but she got what she deserved, unfortunately. Well, speaking of feeding, oh, you were right on time. Your belly alarm went off right on time? Or were you hearing me talking about feeding? Don't stare at me like that. Feed me. Feed me. I see you looking at me. Sitting there. Feed me. Feed me. My belly's growling. Feed me. I got you different delectables tonight. I got you broth instead of stew. He's looking at me like, I don't care what you got. Feed me. All right, all right. Can't stand them eyes staring at me. You gonna cry next? Feed me. You're a trip.
That's it. I'm through.
We know where, right here, WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and an Oscar. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. And I'm going to go feed the walking belly. And with that, take care, everyone. See ya.